really big coins.
Yep.
All right, so let's go. So why did we do that VR? Why did we build a conference in VR? So MCC is for magical, stands for Magical Crypto Conference, and this is an event that takes place once a year. And normally it takes place in real life. People will just get some venue, usually in America, and lots of people will join physically. But of course, for reasons this year, this was not possible. So yeah, so we considered doing this in VR instead. Next question, why hubs? So we've explored multiple VR solutions, and what we found was that the easiest way to customize was to have an open source system. We had lots of requirements, so that was highly necessary to be able to customize the solution. And we've explored other solutions like Microsoft solutions and so on, but it felt like the support was quite slow and not up to par with what we wanted. So, however, if you ask a question in Discord, usually in Hub's Discord, you get an answer within 24 hours usually, and yeah, that works pretty well. So that's what prompted us to go with Hubs. Now, for the conference to happen, we had to figure out a few things. We had to make sure that we could have the conference happen. So those major roadblocks were session control. Since this is a paid event, we had to make sure that, for sure, users would not be able to, after they buy a ticket, share sessions with each other. So we had to make sure that sessions were limited to one per person. The next thing was we wanted to have real-time mirroring for the speakers. In Hubs, you could actually have people, you could actually have a stream that's repeated across multiple rooms, and that works. And some people have used that before. But we thought, what's the point of doing a VR conference if this is going to be watching a screen from, from VR? So what we wanted was to have actual speakers being mirrored in real time. Yeah. And the next one was scalability. So usually these events feature both like thousands of attendees. So we had to make sure that we had the capacity that we could welcome as that many users. So we basically went through all of those roadblocks. We found solutions for each of them. We tested scalability. We tested with multiple bot users, and we figured that it was okay that Hubs could answer all those problems. All right. Next one, so features. So what features did we implement? What custom features compared to the original Hubs, stock Hubs? So the first thing you might have noticed was the sign-in process. I'm going to try again and get that thing going. Oh, okay. I have a handle, one remote that's dead. So yeah, the first thing we tried, you might have noticed, was the sign-up process is slightly different from the usual one, the normal sign-up process. So, okay. I don't know. I cannot get that cheat sheet in front of me. That's usually possible to get. I'm not sure why. It doesn't matter. So the first thing you noticed was the sign-in process. The sign-in process is usually confusing. So you guys and me as well, we're used to signing up in and signing in into hubs, so we don't really notice it anymore. But for new users, it's actually kind of cumbersome. So we noticed that, and what we did was we streamlined the process. We made it much easier. You might have noticed that the text you get when you enter your email is more explicit. But what you might not have noticed is that this text is not closable anymore. The reason for that is that people don't read pop-ups. So we basically made it so that people would not be able to close the pop-up and actually have to read it. So, and then we had a setting to block sign-in, so that like if you have an event at a certain time and you don't want people to get into rooms and explore before that event, you basically blocks signing in, and people who are already signed in will get signed out. So that's convenient. And then on the homepage, you may have seen that there is you have seen that there is a direct link to the lobby, the castle space, and this is actually a custom thing. We can actually add as many of those links as we want. So granted, it could be done with favorited rooms or public rooms. Our implementation is slightly different. It allows also to do that specifically for specific users. For example, the way I entered this room, the staged room, the upstream room, is from a link on my own page, and only I can see it on my home page. And we did a lot of cleaning up on the UI, so there's too much to describe completely here. But for example, we simplified the menu. The menu on, your top left menu if you are in browser. For example, sponsors, you may have seen that there are like 13 sponsor rooms, and sponsors are admins of their rooms, so they, but we don't want them to accidentally close their room or change the scene. So these items have been removed, and they're only available to a certain super admin user. And then you may have noticed that your chat box at the bottom, if you're in browser, is smaller, and you have to click on that little bubble thing to make it appear. So that's like a little cleaner. Okay, and then obviously mirroring. So as you can see now, I'm being mirrored. I'm not in the same room as you, but you can still see me and hear me. So that's the mirroring feature. This is something that can be set dynamically. So I could, any of you, if I go into our little dashboard and I set you as a speaker, you should be able to come in. You would see the link of this room on your front page, and you would be able to come in and talk to everyone else. And then this PDF actually is only present in this room, in the room I'm in, but you can still see it from your place. Hopefully, yes, you can see it. Let me just double check that. Yes, yeah, that looks good. Okay. And so then we have media placeholders. As you can see, I didn't have to painstakingly manipulate my PDF to place it in this position. What it is actually a bunch of coordinates that are passed to the room, and I just have to run a chat command to place my specific PDF into a specific position. There are actually 3 sets of coordinates for this room. So the main screen is the first one, and normally you would have 2 others on each side of that main screen. So if I wanted, I could just place a PDF there too. Yeah, and another feature that's kind of experimental, and we had a few issues with it, was that it's possible to swap this PDF, the one that's presenting currently, swap it with another one without actually taking it off. What it does is it replaces the URL of the presenting PDF. But we had people not seeing the changes or not seeing page changes, so that's a bit experimental. It's probably better if I was to do it over to actually swap the physical PDF for another one. All right. And so you may have noticed that you had to change your name. You had to set your name, and you could set it only once. And now if you go back to setting your avatar and name, you will see that your name is locked and it's not an input field. As a matter of fact, if you actually try to set it up, because it's very easy to do, if you know a little bit of the code behind it, you could run a chat command, a JavaScript command, and change your name, even your avatar, but you would get kicked immediately. So I don't recommend you do it now. You would get kicked out of the room, and then upon re-entering the room, you would be set back with your previous name, with your set name. If you actually wanted to change your name, if you did a mistake the first time, then you'd have to contact an administrator. You may have noticed that there are lots and lots of avatars, but the ones you see are not all of them, actually. You can see, actually, people who just signed up, you are VIPs by default. And so you can see all the VIP avatars, which are the ones with the small icons, the small diamond icon on it. And then after those, you have normal avatars, base user avatars. But actually, since I'm super admin, I can also see all the speakers' avatars, and they're like 100 or something. So actually, if I go to my avatars list, I have like 8 pages, which is almost 200 avatars. That's a lot. And you might have noticed that our avatars are full height, like my feet are more or less touching the ground. This was difficult to do. In the browser, it's very easy to do. So what sets the height of the avatar is the point of view. This is the eye level, basically. By default, it's 1.6 meters. And in the browser, it's very easy to change for VR in browser. But for VR with a headset VR, this was much more complicated because the height is given by the device, not by a setting, by a variable. But I figured it out, and so we are basically locked. Our height is locked, and that's how we can make it so that we touch the ground. Yeah, and so yeah, like I mentioned, your avatars list is depends on your role. If you're a base user, you will only have the base users. If you're a speaker, you will also have your own personal speaker avatar plus the VIP plus the base avatars. Your display name is locked. Don't try to change it, otherwise you're gonna get kicked. As I mentioned, cheaters get kicked. All right. If you guys have been curious and pressed spacebar, or if you're using a VR headset, you've pressed the emoji buttons, you may have noticed that you have lots of emojis that you haven't seen before. So basically, the first one you can see is the Bitcoin one. So that one was added at the beginning. It's very easy. You just add in or replace a model and the particle picture in the code, and that's done. But we've done something more. We've also made it customizable per room. So basically, if you've gone to different sponsor rooms and you've opened up your avatar your emoji menu, especially for 7 Labs and What's Minor, I think you might have noticed that the ball is a green for the 7 Labs and white for What's Minor with the What's Minor logo. So for every room, basically, I can set how many avatars, which avatars, and what models is going to be using, what particle is going to be used. And then another one is random spawners. So basically, if you may have noticed, if you open your avatar menu, that you have a rock and paper and scissor together icon thing, and if you click it, then it's going to randomly generate a rock or paper or scissor icon model. And then on the other side, you have the dice one. If you click it, it's a 6 dice, the icon, but if you click it, you'll have a dice with all faces being a 1 or a 2 or 3, etc. randomly. So that's nice to do games, to have like contests and so on. You may notice that if you spawn a dice, then it's going to fly up, and if you spawn a ball, then it's going to fall down. So custom gravity, and the rocks are actually, rock paper scissors are actually going to stay in midair unless you throw them. You may have noticed that they don't disappear as fast as the other ones. This is actually a setup that you can do that you can do anywhere for any emoji. You can set those settings individually for every emoji. And if you wanted, for example, to implement a ball throwing game, then you wouldn't want people to be able to scale up their ball and throw that ball into the target. That would be too easy. So actually, the ball is not scalable. The other ones, I think they're not either. The Bitcoin and others, they're scalable, but to a limit. And that allows to, for example, prevent people from blocking the view of others with huge huge emojis. I don't know if I said avatars instead of emojis. I'm kind of confused, but if I did, then replace avatars with emojis. We're speaking about emojis. Okay. Symmetric portals. Yes, you've noticed. So portals. So you basically go through portals and instantly you're getting redirected to another room. Why symmetric? What does it mean? Symmetric means that when you go back to another, okay, let me read this just in case you didn't see in the other space. The emojis are different in different spaces. Yes, right. That's exactly this. Thank you. Oh, so yeah, in the ground arena, it's pretty limited. Yeah, I guess that's so people don't start playing during the conferences and stuff. All right. Yeah, so what does it mean, symmetric portals? It means that if you go into a sponsor room, for example, 7 Labs, you're going to go through the 7 Labs portal. And then when you come back to the castle area, you're going to appear right in front of the 7 Labs portal, facing away from it. So that's kind of like as if you came out of that same portal. Yeah, so that's basically what it means. Right. So, and then we have room access control. I mentioned it a little bit before as I was trying to fix our technical issues. Yeah, so what it means is basically we had to have this system available for thousands of users. Well, actually, we didn't have that many, but just in case. And so what it meant was, since a given room in hubs cannot have more than a certain amount of users, and we wanted everybody in room watching and interacting rather than being ghosts or watching from the lobby, then we had to create multiple instances of the same room. So what does it mean? What it means is multiple rooms with the same scene. So kind of like, yeah, multiple instances. So what we did was we provisioned multiple rooms, many rooms, sufficiently for the amount of user we expected, with the given scenes for each type. For example, there are 10 rooms that look like this one, and there are 10 rooms that look like the a castle area. And I just unplugged my handle. I'm going to replug it. All right, should reappear. Here we go. Yeah, and so the algorithm is rather simple. That is, if this specific room goes, the attendance of this specific rooms goes over 28 or 18, I think that is, then people are going to be dispatched to other rooms. That's it. But it could also be one important point. If you're going to have, for example, 1,000 users, one important point is also server load, because if you have too many users on a single server, the server is going to start crashing and you're going to have problems. So, and the problem is you cannot predict in advance where users are going to be, how they're going to be spread around in different rooms. So it's very difficult to know the server load, right? To predict the server load. So you have to take into account what server each room is in the auto-assign algorithm. And then we implemented, so what does it mean? Yeah, so, but if a user wants to access a room that he favorited or that a friend shared with him, you know, because people want to be together in the same room, they can still do that. The auto-assign will allow people to enter a specific room if provided there is enough room, enough space in that room. So that's not completely strict. That's not very strict. And then there is a hot seat feature. What it means is if you leave a room and then come back shortly, like you just reloaded because you had technical issues, then your seat is still hot. You'll still be able to enter this room even if it's packed for a few seconds or a few minutes. And then there is room access based on user role. Obviously, I'm in this room, but you shouldn't be able to access it. If you tried, you would probably get a black screen saying you're not allowed to access it. And then there is the VIP room, which is nothing special. But if you go to the fountain and you enter the water in the fountain, then you should actually get redirected. It's a hidden portal to a boat. You can try that later. And yeah, so that's only VIP and above have access to that room. Base users do not have access to that. If any of you is a base user and wants a preview of the VIP access, I can give it to you after the presentation. You can just ping me and I'll try to do that. All right, and then yeah, I had already mentioned that last point, dynamic access to the stage room. All right, and then so user management, I already spoke about it a little bit. Session control. So first off, we can limit the number of sessions. By default, it's one session. That means that you can, with the same account, you can be in only one room at a time as a single user. If someone else across the world tries to use your account and get into a room, you're going to get kicked out. The last session will remain, but all the older sessions will get kicked out. But this is customizable. If I, as an admin, want to be able to be in multiple rooms at the same time, I can set a session count to more than one. And then we have a small dashboard. I don't have a screenshot of it, but there's a dashboard that I use to give myself access to this stage room and other stuff. But this dashboard also allows us to control all the accesses, all the permissions of other rooms. So this is possible to set permissions across all rooms of a given type. For example, I could say all the instances of the Grand Arena are going to be muted. And yeah, and actually we implemented a specific mode, which is permanent mute. So I'm going to do it right now. So you can look at your small microphone button and you see that it should become grayed out in a second. So Grand Arena and mute control. And let me see, did that work? Yes, so now you can see that you cannot unmute yourself. You got muted and you cannot unmute yourself. So I'm going to revert that. Grand Arena, mute control. All right. So you're back to unmuted, and but you still muted. You still have to click the mute button to be able to speak again. All right. And then we have non-positional voice, like you can see that you can hear me from everywhere in the room. This is non-positional audio. So I know that there is an experimental, I don't know how experimental it is now because we're on an old version, but at the time of that old version, it was experimental. So there is an experimental mode. It's called audio mode. If you tap / audio mode in a normal hub instance, you should see that. I don't know how it works, but we didn't know of that mode at the time, so we just used our own implementation of that. And then there is a more drastic user control. I can force reload a specific user, or all the users in a given room, or all the users in a given room type. I can, so what that will do is reload the page, force the users to reload the page, and I can kick a user and I can ban users. What does it mean to ban a user? Is basically setting his session number to 0. Some of those commands require sending a command inside the room as a message, and all users will pick up this message and execute an action on the client side. So this would be technically possible for anyone to send this command and actually mess up with those. But the commands are actually signed with a key, a little bit of cryptography, so it's not possible to replay those commands. I'm not a cryptographic expert, so there might be some security flaw, but I think that's at least a good deterrent if someone was to try this. All right, and then as you've already discovered, the chat feature, all, you can type /all and send a message across all rooms. So this only works per room type. So that means if you're in the lobby and you use an all message, you're going to send it across all lobbies, but not in the Grand Arena, for example, or the Dragon's Den or the sponsor rooms. And that concludes it, I think. All right. Thank you. I'm going to put my headset back in. You can ask questions on the you can ask questions on the chat using the all command, as I just showed you, or you could relay them to Elgin, I guess. And I'm going to put my ears back on. So. 1 second, this is not the right headset. Yes. Okay, ask away. I purposefully not going too technical in this presentation, because I intend to do a more technical presentation of all those features in the in one of the, what is it called, the Hubs Creator event, one of those meetups. I might do a more technical presentation of some of these points. So you could tell me which ones you're more interested in, and maybe I'll prepare something.
Yeah, so it's a really good point. So you folks are going to do a follow-up meetup that's a little bit more technical.
Right.
That, will be organized by the Hubs Creators Meetup group, which is brand new and is organized by someone who's actually in this group. Cool.
I see someone's talking, but I can't hear from here. The volume is too low. So maybe type it. Or look, I'm going to go back to the downstream room with you guys together, and we can have a chat directly. I guess that's much easier that way. All right. So signing off from there.